called segment addition. This is our first geometry topic. It is going to deal with a rule here that says if 3 points are in a line, you can see we've got point A, point B, and point C. If B is between A and C, that when you add up the two parts, if you add up AB plus BC, it's going to equal AC. This also has a nickname, guys. It is called a part plus a part equals the whole. It is going to be something you hear truly off and on through the entire year in geometry. If you will learn this concept, the segment addition postulate, it will make your life much better as you go forward. The first part of this is going to be arithmetic, though. The first part of this is going to be just dealing with numbers. It says if DE, and use the picture, guys, DE right here is 2, and EF down here is 7, then what is DF? Guys, the whole idea, part plus a part equals the whole. So what would we be doing with these numbers to get DF? Adding. So 2 plus 7, and it's going to equal 9. In geometry, they're going to expect you to write out at least what you're plugging into the calculator. That's how you show work. Sorry, guys. I'm getting there. I'm getting better, guys, but it's taking a little bit. So when you do that, you're doing a part plus a part equals that whole of 9. This next one starts off a little different. I'm going to change colors so you can see it. It says DF right here is going to be 41. Notice I write it on top because that represents the whole thing. Then my piece is going to be 33 on EF. If that's going to be the way, and guys, if you're doing it on your paper and you're using pencil, just so you can kind of, because you're going to do this a lot in geometry where you do multiple problems on the same picture, I might circle these numbers so you know these are connected to each other, and then maybe on the next set you put a box around them so that you can distinguish. I use different colors to make it a little easier up here. So if I've got 41 for this whole thing and this part of it is 33, how would I find out what's over here in this unknown part over on this side? Subtract. So it's going to be 41 minus the 33. What's that leave us for DE? What was it? I'm sorry. 8. There you go. The last one, I'll switch colors again. Let's see. Let's do just no, because you can't see that. Let's do hot pink. So we're going to do hot pink. So this is going to say DE right here is 14. Again, I would put like a box around it if you're doing it with pencils so you can tell the difference between them. And then it says that DF, the entire thing, is 37. What would you do with these numbers to find this unknown right here of EF? Subtract, because a part plus a part equals a whole. You've already got the whole, so to work backwards, you would need to subtract. So it's going to be 37 minus that 14, which is going to leave us what? 23? There you go. All right. Anybody have any concerns, questions, anything on the concept before we move on to applying this to algebra? And you'll see, guys, that's pretty much what we do in geometry all the time. We start off with direct examples where there's actual numbers. Then we start getting into unknown things with variables and solving equations. That's pretty much a lot of what we do in geometry. So here we go, guys. The next one says, find x and PM. So guys, you got two things to find. There's two separate answers. You need to understand that in geometry, they're not asking for one thing a lot of times. So they're looking for you to find x and find the length of PM. That's what PM means when there's no line over the top. Find the distance between them. If M is between P and Q and PM is 7x, which they've already got labeled. They don't have the second picture labeled. This one is already labeled. It says PQ is 45, and it says that MQ is 5x minus 3. So the whole idea is a part plus a part equals the whole. So 7x plus 5x minus 3 is going to equal the whole of 45. That's the geometry part of the problem, guys. You've already done the geometry. The rest of it is all algebra. I need you to see how much algebra you're going to do next year. Being able to solve equations is everything, because everything in geometry is going to be based on this. So to solve this, it's a combine like terms problem. You're going to combine like terms here with these two variables that both have x's. When you combine those, 7x plus 5x is going to put you at 12x minus 3 equals 45. You're then going to add 3 to both sides to get the x by itself, which would make it 12x equals 48. You're then going to divide both sides by 12. And what is 48 divided by 12? 4. So you have one of your two answers. One answer is that x equals 4. However, that's not the actual only answer to that question, because they asked us to plug it back in and to find PM, which we need to do now. To find PM, we would have to plug it back into this one. So we would need to do 7 times whatever x is. So in this case, x is 4. That would mean PM would be equal to, there you go. And we would need to put that over here. PM equals 28. Guys, you see that geometry problem that most of the work was actually algebra? That's what geometry is like. The setting it up is the geometry part. The solving it is the algebra. Okay, guys, here we go. Next one. You have to label it yourself. They don't have it on there already. It says find y and AB. So we got two things to find again. If B is between A and C. And let's see, AB right here is going to be 5y minus 1. BC is going to be 4y plus 2. And AC is 28. Once I put that on there, I'm going to use the idea of a part plus a part equals the whole. So 5y minus 1 plus 4y plus 2 equals 28. We are going to combine like terms. These two need to go together. And these two need to go together. Again, solving an equation, guys. Every problem in geometry, you're going to need to know how to do this. 5y plus 4y is going to give you 9y. Ooh, watch out, guys. That's negative 1 and positive 2. What's that going to give you? 1 equals 28. We're going to minus 1 minus, that's a 1. Minus 1 minus 1 is going to give us 9y equals 27. Divide by 9, and y equals 3. That's the first of our two answers. It doesn't ask us for just one. It also asks us to find AB. So we've got to plug it back into here. When we plug that back in, it'd be 5 times 3 minus 1, which would make it 15 minus 1, which would make it 14. So AB would equal 14. Questions, concerns, anything about that before we move on to the other part of the notes today? It's a very similar topic, but it applies it in a different way. Anybody still ready? I want to get ahead of anybody. Okay. So the other way that we are going to apply this is to talk about segment bisectors. So let's first talk about what makes something congruent. Some of you have seen this word before. Some of you have seen this symbol before. I've written most of it on here for you. This is the word congruent. This is the symbol that goes for it. Instead of two measurements being equal to each other, it means the actual object is the same as another object. In geometry, for example, this segment would be congruent to this segment. Their measurements would be equal, but the actual objects would be congruent to each other. It means the same size and same shape. So in this case, it would mean that AB is going to be congruent to XY. Those are congruent to each other. If you did an equal sign, you would write AB and you would not write anything above it, because that means the distance between A and B. And you would write that it is equal to XY without any line over the top, because that would mean that their measurements are equal. The segments are congruent, their measurements are equal, guys. Okay, now these little marks on here are congruency marks. If they have the same number of them on two different pieces, two different segments, two different angles, two different whatever it is, those are going to be congruent to each other. In this case, these both have 2 marks. Down here you can see that these two both have 1 mark. That means that PR and RQ are going to be congruent to each other. That's because this segment was bisected. Guys, what does bisect mean? 2 is bi. What does sect mean? Anybody know? Usually people get it. Huh? Kind of, yeah. What is it doing to it? It's got an original piece. Let's say it's 10 long. And then it's taking it and making it 2 5-length pieces. Yes, sir? It is going through it. And what's happening when it goes through it? It's cutting it in half. That's what sect means, cut. Okay? Bisect means to cut in half, cut into 2. It's intersecting into 2 separate pieces that are equal to each other. So it's going to be a line that cuts it into 2 equal parts. In this case, this line, RS, is going to be the segment bisector. So RS. And it's a line, so it has arrows on the ends of it when you write it, guys. Lines have arrows. We spend time just figuring out how to name stuff in geometry. It's a big deal. Doesn't seem like a big deal. And towards the end of the year, people are like messed up because of it. Be careful. RS is the segment bisector. And when it bisects it, that means that PR is going to be congruent to QR. And how you write things and name things in geometry is everything. Truly, you've got to do it correctly. There are right and wrong ways to do it. So please learn that lesson now before you start your geometry class. It'll make your life much easier. Okay? Yes? It's called correspondence. And the reason I named that is because if you're cutting this in half and you're pulling it, they should go from the outside in. It would go from the same pattern from the outside in. It really matters when you get to what's called triangle congruence and triangle similarity, and when you're trying to prove anything congruent or similar, because correspondence matters. And so, yes, it can. In geometry, a lot of the time, the order can matter. Yep. These are good questions, guys. Keep those kind of questions coming. They do matter. Okay, guys, so the last thing we're going to deal with, excuse me, sorry guys, last thing we're going to deal with is using this concept with the idea of a part plus a part equals a whole, the segment addition with a part plus a part equals a whole. Here we go. So, if you have a picture like this that says, these 2 segments bisect each other. Do you see this one has got equal marks, congruency marks, saying that these 2 pieces are congruent to each other. This one has congruency marks, so they bisect each other. It says on here that AE from here to here is 30. It says that ED down here is 2x plus 6. Now, this one's pretty straightforward, guys. What do we know about these 2 pieces? They're congruent, so we can set their measurements equal to each other, so we would set 30 equal to 2x plus 6. Again, that setup, that the problem's not given to you to solve. You have to set up. That's the geometry part of the problem, is setting that up. The solving part is the algebra. Here we go. Minus 6 minus 6, 24 equals 2x. Divide both sides by 2. And 12 equals x. Your geometry teacher's not going to go slow through their algebra, guys. You're supposed to know the algebra before you get there to know how to solve an equation. Please be aware of that. Okay. Once you get that x equals 12, you've got to then look at what they're asking for. Are they asking you for x or to plug it back in? Okay. So your answer is just 12. You don't have to do anything else to it. You're done. That's your answer. That's not true on the next 2, so be careful. On the next one, it says that BE is 6x minus 7. It says that EC is 5x plus 1. And then it wants to know the length of BC. So these two parts are congruent to each other. If they're congruent to each other, we can set their measurements equal. So we would set 6x minus 7 equal to 5x plus 1. Again, guys, we talked about this, but I'll say it again up here. I use a different color, but if you're doing this, you might circle these two to know they're connected to each other, and then put boxes around the next problem, because you're going to use the same pictures over and over and over again in geometry. That happens all the time. When we solve this for x, we're going to solve by subtracting 5x from both sides. It's going to make it x minus 7 equals 1. We're going to add 7 to both sides. That's going to make it x equals 8. But that is not what they asked for. They do not ask us for x. They're actually asking us for the length of this whole thing. So we're going to have to plug it back. Guys, do we need to plug it back into both of them? Why don't we? They're the same. They're the same. You don't need to. They're the same. So plug it back into either one. I'm going to do the one with the plus just because it's easier. 5 times 8 plus 1. It doesn't matter which one you plugged it into. Doesn't matter. 5 times 8 would be 40 plus 1, which would be 41. If this side is 41, then the other side also has to be 41, which means the whole thing from B to C, because that's what we're looking for is BC, is going to be 41 plus 41, which would be 82. Okay, guys, last one. I want you to try to set it up on your own. Try to set up the problem. Try to set it up. It's a little bit different. I'm telling you up front. You can do it with what you got already, but I want you to try to set up. Don't solve it yet because you may have set it up wrong. Just try to set it up. That's the geometry part of it. Okay, let's switch colors. Let me try to set it up. AE is 8x plus 11. And AD is going to be 20x plus 10. Anybody willing to give us their equation? Yes, sir. Equals what? Got a good idea, but it doesn't work because we don't have it equal to anything. Good idea, but we're not quite there. Anybody else? Yeah? No? Guys, we're trying this. This is new. This is different.
Will 20x plus 10 be the equal?
It would be the equal, but what would it be equal to? Anybody got a guess on that?
8x plus 11.
Okay, guys, y'all are getting there. If this side is 8x plus 11, because they are congruent, what does this side have to be? 8x plus 11. So then the idea is a part plus a part equals the whole. And that goes back to the first thing that we did. 8x plus 11 plus 8x plus 11 equals the whole, which is 20x plus 10. Thank y'all for trying. Guys, it's geometry. It's new. This is the setup. This is the stuff you have to do. Every single problem is not going to be able to be produced to you like it is in algebra, where I can show you almost every type of problem that we're going to do. Geometry is not like that. You have to apply the rules to different types of scenarios all the time. It's the rules you got to learn. Okay, guys, combine like terms. When you combine like terms, let me get my highlighter if it'll work. These two go together, and these two go together. When I do that, that's going to give me 16x plus 22 equals 20x plus 10. You're going to minus 16x from both sides. It's going to make it 22 equals 20x minus 16x would be 4x plus 10 minus 10 minus 10. It's going to make us 12 equals 4x. Divide by 4 and 3 equals x. Again, your geometry teacher is not going to reteach algebra. You need to know how to solve equations when you get there. You're going to then take that and use that to find ED. We put on here what ED was equal to. We wrote it on there, so we have to plug back into that. So we're plugging back into 8 times 3 plus 11. When you plug into that, that's going to be 24 plus 11, which is going to be 35. 35. And there's your answer. Okay, guys, that's your notes for today. Anybody have any questions before we go ahead and move on? Okay, guys.